Alright, so this is my Myutant Deck Profile. For those who've been on my channel already, you've probably already seen me working through this deck since the announcement of these cards. Yeah, so I've always been running a slightly pure iteration of this deck. I've tried the other ones out at this point. I just don't like them as much. I feel like it just gives you, it's too high of a chance of breaking, or high of a chance of having a bunch of cards that essentially go nowhere. You can do a bunch of plays, but do they really bring you anywhere that truly makes this deck feel like it's a threat to be? I feel like you want to get as much punch out of the card, so instead of running the other engines, I kind of just threw in some really strong one-ups and filled it up with some traps that really disarm your opponent. But yeah, let me get right into this. Actually, before I even get right into the deck, I want to say I did watch the MBT, replays of this deck, and the cross sheep idea is genius. I really love that idea, and it's definitely one of those things I was saying, like, this deck needs a little more meat to it, and a play like that really does give you that in-between play that kind of allows your deck to keep grinding and mounting advantage. That in a deck that's so slow, you need something like that that can, truly put pressure on your opponent, make your opponent have to think twice about a couple of different moves. But yeah, let me get right into the deck profile. Alright, so I'm running the 6 searchers. I'm running 3 STs and 3 Ms. Probably the most vital cards of the deck, by the way. ST, spells and traps. M, monsters. That's pretty cute, Konami. But yeah, probably the most vital cards of the deck. What I generally end up doing with them is ST will search expansion, expansion will search M, M will search ST. What I like so much about that loop is it generates you a trap for Arsenal and monsters for Beast. And it's just a great way to, once you do get Beast and Arsenal on the field, to constantly be generating fodder for them. Yeah, so you would like to see these more. You would like it if they had quick effects, and you'd also like if there's 3 emergency teleports. You can't have everything, so you make it work. I'm not taking away anything but these cards. These cards are pretty exceptional for what they can do. I'm running 3 of the big ones. I'm running 1 Arsenal, 2 Beasts. I'm talking about Beast first. Super strong card. The non-targeting part is non-targeting by monsters is actually more relevant than I thought it was going to be on a 2400 attacking monster. Sometimes it's hard for things to just overcome this. And yeah, being able to negate spell cards works really nice with tandem with all the traps you're running, because spell and trap destruction generally is spell cards. And honestly, going first when you see your opponent starting to do something on their turn and they want that one spell card they want to use to gain more momentum or get their deck going, being able to negate that has always been a strong thing about this card, and it's always a great play. And yeah, you run 1 Arsenal because once again you're running a bunch of trap cards, or not even once again, but you're running a bunch of trap cards in this iteration of the deck. And you want to make use of them. You want to make use of some of these doubles and triples of cards you have, because they do build up on the field. And being able to bring a 3k beater out of your deck basically whenever you want to is not anything to overlook. Yeah, I was even considering when it's skill drain, because skill drain plus Arsenal, there can be only one, and multiple cards that can disarm your opponent. You're thinking that might just be game within itself. I'm not running skill drain because you can't banish it off the field to get any effects, but if you have a card that can potentially banish off the field from your hand, which seems like it's kind of in the realm of this card, maybe I'm pitching this to Konami. Yeah, maybe skill drain becomes a card you can run in this. That'd be super exciting to happen. Yeah, I'm running 3 dimension shifters. I go back and forth on this card. It's funny because I think I should run it at 2, but I can't really justify running this at 2. But yeah, it's hard not to justify not running this at all. It is a meta breaking card. A lot of the times you pitch this turn 1 and your opponent basically skips their turn, and any additional one can be basically used as fodder for Beast or Arsenal, as well as the smaller guys, ST and M. So not many reasons not to run it considering what it can do, and it only gets better if decks become more graveyard oriented, which they always are. But yeah, this one shuts down a lot of decks to begin with. It's a interruption eater, or a gamma eater, I should say. Yeah, so I'm running 3 Ecclesias. I'm running 1 Ecclesia. What I like so much about this card is it doesn't take up your normal summon. The deck generally doesn't care about its extra deck. And yeah, what I like about it is it provides you a monster and a trap, because I use Ecclesia to search Dogmatic Dogmatica Punishment. So whichever way I'm going to go with it, whether I'm going to use Dogmatica Punishment to actually get a double pop, or sometimes you use Dogmatica Punishment to search Ecclesia because you want to make a special summon play to make a Link 2 or something like that. Or you can end up using these cards to just pitch as fodder for Beast, Arsenal, or M or ST. So I like the versatility to it. I like the fact that it provides me both a monster and a trap. I need a drink of water. I have no water. Okay, so yeah, so I'm running one Eater of Millions. Yeah, same thing. Doesn't take up your normal summons, so it allows you to go into the Link 2 plays. Cross Sheep is super great. I like about this is it puts so much pressure on your opponent as well, because you can be doing all these things with this deck. You know, setting up basically there can be only ones in summon limits, and you know, Imperial Orders, things that just makes it so hard for your opponent to play at times. Your beast is negating spells, and then you summon Eater of Millions, and for some reason now they just have to focus on this card, because if they don't, everything's getting banished face down, and that type of power is really nice. It's really nice to just be able to pull out a card like this that can just make your opponent focus completely on this, as he can kind of amount plays beside it sometimes, or even back the other way around. When you're mounting plays on the side, your opponent's getting rid of all the interruptions, and it just leaves them with, and then you can just end up turning the game into Eater of Millions poking. Yeah, and I'm running one Necrophase. I go back and forth with this card. I'm kind of running it for the utility of just kind of recycling my whole deck again and giving my deck a second wind. I kind of think of it like that, because you do end up with times where your deck is kind of wearing itself out, and you just want to get it all back in. Mutant Cry kind of does that as well, so maybe I can just bump up Mutant Cry so I don't have to run a Necrophase, but also getting all the cards you banish off Disparity back in the grave, back into your extra deck as well. It has its benefits as well, so I don't know, I go back and forth, but I have one in for now. If it changes, if more support comes out, we'll see, but I like the one Necrophase. I kind of hope not to draw it in my first hand. I kind of hope that I can see it within, you know, 5 turns in, if I can search through my deck and get some draws going, but yeah, we make it work. 3-Potted Disparity, I feel like I don't even have to talk about this card much. You resolve it once and you basically, sometimes you win the duel, because you get to, it's almost like you get to pick that perfect piece of your hand puzzle that basically turns your turn into a beast, a Eater of Millions, a Dottomatica punishment, and like there can be only one or something like that. Or you have a mutant expansion set and you have a bunch of just cards that you're going to use to just slow your opponent down, or getting the crackdown when your opponent has an annoying card. Like this card just, it almost feels like a searcher. Like it almost feels like a searcher. If you had only 6 cards in your deck and you banish 6 off the top of your extra, or banish 6 from your extra, it literally would be a searcher. So super strong card. I'm running the one field spell. I use it as an extender. It comes up when it does come up. Sometimes it's kind of nice to shuffle back one of the big ones into your deck. I've realized recently that it does draw your card after, so you can't use that effect and Disparity in the same turn. And yeah, I can't run more than 3 of these things. I just can't justify it. It almost does absolutely nothing. I do like the fact that it does help you get 2 monsters in the field, but beyond that, there's not much out of it that I care too much for. Dimensional Fissure, I feel like I don't know if it's a staple in this deck, but it definitely hurts a lot of decks so much that I like playing it. Yeah, it's a spell, so it kind of hurts sometimes, because if you want to do something, like if you have Dimensional Fissure and Macrocosmos on the field, you know, you would sometimes wish to turn Dimensional Fissure into Mist, but I'm not running Mist. I'm just not. But regardless, it's a really great card, and this deck likes continuous spells. This deck likes stuff that you can use as fodder later on, so you know, when you do get the Macrocosmos, use a Dimensional Fissure as fodder. One Emergency Teleport. You wish you could run more of these cards. This is the card this deck needs. Like, Expansion is great. Expansion is so great, but going first in this deck is so important, and sometimes they kill that normal summon and you have absolutely nothing else to do. Being able to have Emergency Teleport, so you can kind of, what do we do, like Emergency Teleport in the standby phase, just so your opponent, you can skip a couple of cards that might interact with it, and then, you know, just start building advantage from that. That's kind of the route that this deck wants to have. I understand, like, I've played every Psychic deck since basically 2000 and, like, I don't even know, 2010 maybe. So I've been with Psychic since the iteration, so I know how powerful this card can be, and I understand why it's not at 3, but honestly, sometimes, you know, you turn the ban list off and you play with it at 3 just to see how it feels. It feels great. 3 Mutant Expansion. I love it because it gets you a monster and it gets you a trap, which is the name of this game, the name of getting an arsenal of beasts on the field. That protecting your arsenal and beasts from card destruction is really great as well. And when you have your macrocosmos off and this gets banished, then your beast, then you can actually retrieve it with. Can you retrieve it? Yeah, you can retrieve it with beast. I hardly ever do it, but I know I can retrieve it with beast, which is great as well because you can keep it going. I generally use beast to retrieve Mutant Cry, which is actually, I don't know, it's actually pretty relevant. Getting when beast gets destroyed, and you search Cry with it off the banish zone. But yeah, a really good card. Yeah. Crackdown, another thing that gets you a monster and a trap at the same time, makes your deck as you're trying to. I keep that idea going to keep making this deck as flexible as possible. Yeah, when you have there can be only one and summon limit, Crackdown is sometimes game. I won't even lie, because you generally just take the bigger monster and you just gotta go like, okay, what are you gonna do now? Like, really, what are you gonna do now? It doesn't negate effects, but any effects that your opponent has to trigger, then you can basically yeah, just grab it. Or is that ignition effect? Whichever one your opponent actually has to claim that they're gonna do. I don't know how these things work out, but you can just grab it before it happens. So it's a super good card. Maybe you can run it at 2 just to put up more, just to give the deck a little more space for other things. But regardless, it gives you a monster and a trap. So beast and arsenal become live from it. So, and it's great for protecting ST and M as well. When you have these things face up and you have a there can be only one or a summon limit and a crackdown, you feel pretty safe that you're gonna make it to the next turn and be able to still generate advantage off of these things. Yeah, there can be only one. There's not much to say. It does conflict with ST and M sometimes, but I don't even care. I can banish them and get like another typing on the field. This thing destroys decks. The decks it doesn't destroy, it's kind of like a whoop-de-doo type of thing, but the decks that it does destroy, it absolutely disables them and they can't do anything, and super fantastic. 2 summon limits. Yeah, this card's busted. Honestly, this card's busted. I don't know why it still exists. It completely destroys combo decks. Yeah, I'm only running 2. I probably should be running more, but it's just the fact that there can be only one. It can clear a field potentially sometimes, and summon limit, like, you have to do it beforehand. Maybe I might run this. I might bump it up. I gotta test it more. I like it at 2 right now. With disparity, you basically see it when you need to see it, so that's also a thing within itself. 3 imperm. This is like the only thing for going when I'm going second outside of Dimension Shifter. So it's like, at least if I don't see Dimension Shifter, I'll possibly see imperm. And it's just like, if I can make your field from a 5 monster completely negate field to maybe a 2 monster with potential negate, so I can bait it out with maybe an Eater of Millions, or I can summon Ecclesia and see what happens there. If I can do that, if I can do something, if I can work with that field, I feel like I'm in just a much stronger place. Yeah, I'm running the one Mutant Cry. I've said it before, but when you start playing this deck, you assume you're going to fusion summon all the time, but it generally ends up being that you sit on beasts all the time and just use other cards to gain advantage, and use your spell and traps or your trap cards to really just beat down your opponent. So yeah, just a 1 Mutant Cry. I might bump it up to 2. It's an idea. It's like, it's a really strong card because the recycling back into your deck is more relevant than I gave it credit. It's one of those cards where it's maybe I put this to 2 and Necroface into 1. Something I'm definitely considering, but yeah, I have it at 1 right now. One Solemn Judgment, it's kind of just, you mainly use this as you have your field set up and you just kill their normal summon, or you take some stress off of beast for negating spells and traps, versus negating spells, where you can handle at least one of them with Judgment as well. I could probably be playing more Judgments. I saw MBT playing more Judgments, and I was like, that's a really good idea. I like that a lot. I'm considering it. The Dogmatica Punishment, whether you're using it for Arsenal or you're popping a card, searching Ecclesia, or getting a double pop, like, you're doing so much with this card. Full of potential, full of versatility. So why not put such a strong card when you don't really need your extra deck as well? Macrocosmos, because, it's Macrocosmos. And Imperial Order, because yeah, beast can negate spells, but if you don't even have to negate spells and you could just have it being a thing that can't be targeted by monsters, and you completely shut off half the, you know, for some decks that completely turns the decks off, and for some decks it just means that they can't really get going as fast as they possibly can. Great stun card, and whenever you need to, you can banish any of these trap cards or summon Arsenal, which is another reason why Arsenal is such a great card. Yeah, I'm potentially gonna put up more combo videos. I feel like I like the deck where it's at right now. I want to see more support. I want to, you know, get into more decks right now. So yeah, maybe you might see more content from Mutants from me. I really like playing this deck. I know people don't like when you play it against them, so that's a thing as well. This one is a deck where you're trying to get some replays from it, and 2 plays in, they're already, you know, lost connection. It's that type of deck, so yeah, we'll see what happens, but yeah, stay tuned for more videos, more deck lists. I'm gonna try going more in depth with it. I put some notes for this one to make sure I was trying to stay on topic, because I've made a lot of deck lists where it's kind of like I have to do so many takes because all these thoughts are streaming through my head. So we're gonna keep getting better at this. That's the goal, constantly getting better. And yeah, I could go over the extra deck is pretty routine. I think the most important thing is synthesis and cross sheep. After that, I got some links just so I can always link off with my opponent's monsters. And yeah, so that's basically it. I hope you guys enjoyed. You're definitely gonna see more content from me, and yeah, stay blessed.